Like Rural Women New Zealand, RNZ is also celebrating a centenary this year, and we've been hunting out the occasional story also spanning 100 years. One of those stories is that of the Harvey family from Wairarapa. 5 generations have lived, worked and, on occasion, been born on the farm since Thomas Harvey bought it in 1923. Producer Justin Gregory travelled to the sheep and beef farm to meet them and talk about what it takes to keep going over a century of farming.
If it's a metaphor you're after for change and adaptation in farming life, well, here's John Harvey, 76, boiling the jug to make me a cup of instant coffee. While his daughter-in-law, Emma, fires up the espresso machine for her fix.
Yeah, you got to have a coffee machine when you're a stay-at-home mum.
Oh, sure.
No coffees in town anymore.
Old school, new school, it's still all coffee, innit? And no matter how you get there, farming's a bit the same, I guess. Glorious, thank you. Cheers. We're here in the farmhouse, a building which well predates the Harvey family on this land. John Harvey lived here once with his wife Yvonne. Now it's home to the next generation, son Owen, daughter-in-law Emma, and granddaughters Annabelle and Mackenzie. Yvonne is a bit crook today, so she's not here with us, but we're sitting with our coffees at the kitchen table, talking survival, adaptation and succession. Dora the Explorer, a small keen terrier, is winding away in and out between our feet as we talk. John gives us the history of the Harvey family's ownership of Daisybank.
Well, the first one was Thomas and his wife was Eleanor. And then my father was Stuart and my mum was Jessie. And then myself and Yvonne. And of course I grew up with my sisters, Eleanor and Anne. And now, of course, it's Rebecca and her first husband, Scott. They lived up the road on that McGaffin block, we call it. And now Owen and Emma are living here, so they're the next generation. And
the fifth generation.
And fifth generation, Mackenzie, and Mackenzie's big sister Annabelle has just gone to school this morning. So
Mackenzie was actually born in this house even, so...
Yes, yeah.
Was that intended?
Yes, it actually was, yeah. Yeah.
But my grandfather was a very good horseman with draft horses. He was originally farmed down in South, and he came to the North Island to get a new start in about 1905. The rabbits and his health sort of put him off. And my grandfather had a piece of land at Gladstone, and he had contracting teams, metalling contracting. It was horses and drays. And there was quite a big Maori presence out at Gladstone. And my grandfather employed quite a few of the local guys as teamsters and metalling roads, and he had contracts for doing roads. And then in 1923, as I say, he bought this farm. He came and bought this farm here, and then farmed that. And then my father, who was 13 when he came here, worked on the farm. In those days, they were all mixed farms. They'd have a few sheep, a few cows. They milked about 40 cows by hand. They would keep pigs. And they would take the cream to the factory. The Elmdale dairy factory was down at the corner at Dival. And they would bring the skim milk back and feed to the pigs. And also when the cows calved, any bull calves were killed, and the only thing of any value on them was the hide. So they used to skin the bobby calf, and that's why they were called bobby calves, of course, because they got a bob for the skin, a shilling for the skin.
Really?
That's where the word term bobby calves comes from.
Right.
And then the calves' carcasses would be fed to the pigs as well. So nothing was wasted, really.
Yeah.
And it evolved from there.
And so you've basically lived around this area your entire life, yeah?
I've actually lived on a farm my whole life. So I've lived in 4 different houses, but I haven't actually left the farm.
Owen Harvey did leave the farm and lived elsewhere, but it feels like it was always on the cards that he'd come back someday. And then events made it happen.
I think I was down south at the time, and Dad was having an operation on your shoulder, and then my sister Rebecca was having her first child, so the labour units on the farm disappeared pretty quickly. So that's when I came home, and then kind of haven't really left. So yeah.
And when did you two take over the farm? Not as formal a process, huh?
It's sort of organic.
It's a very gradual process.
It's been sort of organic. There wasn't one sudden day when we said, right, I'm stopping, Owen and Emma are starting. It's just we've gradually evolved, and I've just gradually dropped back, and they've just gradually taken over more and more. I heard a very good quote from an old Australian farmer once that he said, if you're very lucky farming, you'll be the boy twice and the man once on a farm.
Was it that way with your dad and your grandfather before him?
My grandfather, by the time he came and bought Daisybank, he was in his 50s. But then apparently, they said one day, my grandfather just went into the local stock firm, which in those days used to do a lot of farm financing, more than the bank. And he just more or less apparently went in and said, Stuart and Harry are going to be running the farm from now on. Can you just change the name on the account? And they reckon that was about how it worked.
Daisybank was part of the ballot system of the early 20th century, breaking up large farm holdings into much smaller units and then assigning them to new owners. And from that original small ballot, the farm has grown to 2 big land blocks of just over 1,100 hectares, operating now as what Owen calls a pretty standard sheep and beef operation and breeder and finisher. Emma also runs an on-farm agritourism accommodation business, and she and Owen are keeping an eye on new opportunities and challenges.
The one, if you want to call it a big thing that we've probably moved towards at the moment, is just a bit of woolless sheep. Even with everything that's going on in regards to wool making a comeback, and I literally sold some wool last night, and I wasn't really super convinced on the prices that I got that wool was magically on its way back. So for us, when we're like part of a local discussion group, and I'm one of very few within that group of 20, 30 guys that have gone down that path. So
I think, John and Yvonne have been doing this for a long time and have worked out a system that works for this climate and this environment and the soils that we have. So I don't think it'll change drastically. Just be tweaking it kind of as we go, I think, hey? Yeah. But the agritourism thing's cool, like just diversifying income a little bit, I guess. And we're so close to Martinborough that we get a lot of tourists coming over from Wellington and quite a few internationals as well. So that's a bit of an opportunity for us. And we're just starting to venture into building a website at the moment so we'll open the farm up to farm walks and things like that as well, and biking and things. So yeah, that's probably our only real change, just adding that stream on to otherwise relatively traditional sheep and beef operation.
But I mean, 100 years of farming, you've not only got to be smart and to be able to look forward, you've got to have a bit of luck, eh? Was there ever a chance when the farm wasn't going to stay in the family?
No, I don't know that there was ever a time that we were faced being sold up, but we've been through some pretty hard times, like just every other family farm. I mean, the one large part of luck that I had anyway was when I was growing up, I was determined to get my own farm. I knew that at that stage the farm we had here was about 200 hectares, very dry land. It's one of the driest spots in the North Island. So I wanted to expand, and when I bought the farm up the road, and that was in 1978, 2 brothers owned it, and they were old school, the sort of people that were either 100% for you or 100% against, salt of the earth people. They left the money at the going interest rate at that time, which was quite doable. But then, in a very short space of time, in the early 80s, that's when the huge interest rates started climbing. And some farmers got up to over 20% that were paying on interest, and for a lot of farmers lost their farms. I mean, it just wasn't sustainable. And I think the highest ever got up to paying interest was probably perhaps 10, 11%, when other people were paying 18 and 22, And so I was very fortunate there. And the other luck, I suppose if you can call it luck, was when I had the good luck to marry Yvonne, who's been such a tremendous support to me. And I think we've worked pretty well as a team.
We're about to wander over to the old wool shed when John brings out some photos from the past. While you're talking here, I've just spotted a photo of a handsome young fella and his granddad.
That draft, that's me.
Yes.
And that mare's name's Jean, and that's my grandfather.
John Harvey sitting on Jean with Grandad Thomas Harvey.
That's correct.
Do we know what year that is?
Taken out on the lawn, right out there.
Right. How old are you in that photo?
Oh, I must have been about 4, I suppose. I can remember one of my earliest memories when my father used to go ploughing up here with the horses, just before Dad was due to knock off.
Yep.
My mother would set me off, and I'd walk up the track behind the house and find where he was. And he'd unyoke all the horses, that's those sort of horses, the Clydesdales, and he would lift me up, and he'd sit me on the back. Jean was probably the one he'd used. She was his main mare. She was a wonderful old thing. I would sit on there just like that. It's like sitting in the middle of that table there, and hold on to him, remain. I can still smell the sweaty horse smell.
Yeah.
And then he would just walk home, wouldn't be leading them or anything. They'd just walk at his heel like dogs. And he'd walk them home back down to the shed where I'm going to take you over and show you, and put them away and wash them down, give them their afternoon feed. And so I can still remember those. They were so huge, but they were so gentle.
Gumboots on, and we're away to the old woolshed across the road. Mackenzie leads the way there on her balance bike. The shed is one of the really old parts of the farm. It holds the history of the farm and the family inside its walls, literally in the shape of prize cards from dog trialling competitions. So what do you got here? First prize, first prize, first prize, third prize, second prize, third prize, second prize, first prize. He did all right, didn't he? Yeah.
Was it, looking at the 54?
I did a family tree, which we put up for the centennial. We had a display area in here.
Right.
That's the original. That's Thomas and Eleanor Harvey.
Yeah.
Various 10. Jack was actually John Harvey, and he's the guy I was named after.
Right.
He spent all his adult life working with Maori, and that he started off as a secretary for Sir Peter Buck, and he ended up as the chief judge of the Maori Land Court. He's buried in Nongataha up in Rotorua. If you look along here, you'll notice that a lot of them didn't marry once, didn't have family. And then there were two of them, Arthur and Jim. They were both killed at the First World War. And Owen and I, we've both been over and visited their graves. Or one of them hasn't got a grave because it's never found, but his name's on the memorial wall there.
France, Belgium?
Yeah, in Belgium, yeah. Just before he went away, he shot a deer. That's the head there.
Oh, goodness.
And the interesting thing see that piece of tin wired to it?
Yep.
In those days, you had to have a licence to shoot deer.
Right.
So what you did was you bought a tag. And that's it there. As soon as you'd shot the deer, you had to put the tag on its head. And if you were caught with a stag's head without a tag on it, you were for the high jump, basically. It was only a few years after that they more or less...
They started culling them.
Well, they started culling them. But in those days, the Acclimatisation Society. And so that, as heads go, it's nothing remarkable. But it's always been in the family because it was a link to him not long after he went to Belgium and never came back.
Yeah.
So when Yvonne and I went over... when did we go? It was 100 years. It was 2017. We actually went to the 100th centennial. They had it at the Menin Gate in Eeps. So what I did was I cut a tine. See that missing tine there? Mm-hmm. I cut that off and I put it on his grave over in... So it's over there in his grave in the Nine Elm Cemetery. Yeah.
I'm feeling that story, John.
Yeah, no, it was pretty moving when I did it, actually, but I thought it was just a nice link. Yeah. So, this wool shed, when it was originally built, it's quite smaller than it was. If you have a look at the iron on the end of the shed there, Justin, see the holes in it? It's obviously second-hand.
Yep.
As far as we know, this was the wool room. It went out there further, and we suspect it was shortened back when the road was put up or finally put up. That sort of thing. And then down, this is the interesting part here. When we expanded the farm, I put it in these raised boards. But before that, if you just come around here, it was shaped like a T. So this was where the wool handling was.
Right.
Down there were 7 stands. 7 shearing stands went down there.
Yeah.
And out the other side, there were another 7 stands. In that lean-to part, it's a bit hard to visualise now because it's been changed so much. That was an engine. A big shafting plant went through, and it drove all the shearing plant. Yeah. So that was 14. Further out that way, there were another 7 stands they put in to shear with the blades. Why they did it, I don't know. But the end of that shed went right out to where the dog kennels are now. And in 1968, among other things, the Wahine storm blew the end off the shed, wrecked it completely. So we shortened it back to here because a lot of that wasn't being used for much by then. And the iron off that shed we used to build that silver wool shed over there, and we got enough timber out of it to build the native timber. We used that to build the walls and so forth. And there was a big line of trees that ran where those trees are there now. They're replacements. There was a big line of trees ran from the road back to that was all blown over, and we milled the timber out of them, and that was what we made the rafters out of.
There was another story about this wool shed that you started to tell me when we were over there. Oh, hello. You got a piwaka up,
Yes.
up in the rafters.
Yeah. one year here back when my father was still alive, a moorpork stayed here all winter. You used to come in, he was up on the rafters, and you'd come in the daytime and see him sitting there.
It's probably good for keeping the rats and the mice down.
Well, possibly.
Yeah.
It's only happened once.
Yeah. Now, I think I heard Mackenzie had something she badly wanted to show me. No?
There's a little white rabbit.
Let's go. Is this your white rabbit, Mackenzie?
No, this is a wild white rabbit that
Ah.
the foxy caught. I don't even know where it's gone. He's lost him. Here he is.
Oh, he's just little.
The girls like to show all of our friends and their kids, like townies, which is quite funny.
You keep showing that to your friends, Mackenzie. You keep doing that.
People think, oh, we're going to see a cute little white rabbit.
So where's the farm stay operation from here?
So it's actually up. It's up. So John and Von's house is just kind of
Right.
up on the hill there, and it's up. You can't see it from here, but it's just up the farm track. So it's kind of it's got the amazing view out over the valley there, and it's it's a couple of k's up the track, and everyone feels like they're in just a little paradise with no one else around, but actually they're 10 k's to Martinborough, which is ideal. So yeah, it's a
They
pretty
can still
cool
get a
little
latte
spot.
if they need one. Yeah.
And there's we've got like a little resident group of fallow deer that are wild that live in the bush in front of it, and they are so used to people being there now. We're up there this morning, and there's a little buck, he's actually a reasonable sized buck now, and a little group of does, and they just hang out in front of the hut, and people love it. And there's an outdoor bath, and they sit in the bath and watch the deer at night, and
How busy is the business?
really good.
Yeah.
It's it kind of surpassed our expectations, I guess, which is cool. Like every weekend's booked throughout the year, and then like through from probably October to April, it's pretty well booked, solid, and then just over winter it's a little bit quiet, and we shut it over lambing just so that we don't have people driving through lambing ewes and things. But it's really good. It's a good little side hustle, I guess. It was kind of our way to set up a business that meant I didn't have to go back to work off farm once we had children. So that's kind of my role. And now we're just trying to kind of expand it with other stuff to build the agritourism into more of an income stream, I guess, the business is big enough now that we're not looking to expand it necessarily any further, so we need to be able to make more money some other way. So that's an opportunity for us, I guess.
I mean, side hustles has always been the story of farming, isn't it? It's never just one income streing. Yeah.
And it's cool because it gives me a way to still be at home with the kids and helping on the farm a little bit, but being able to actually financially contribute to the business, which is quite nice. So as much as I love just making smokos and stuff, like it's nice to actually feel like I'm doing something useful a lot of the time.
Smokers pretty useful. There's so many things you're at the mercy of that you can't control yourself. I mean, that's got to have an impact upon someone living on the land day by day. I know you suffered from a bout of depression a while ago, which is a very common thing amongst farming communities. And men. Yeah.
Everybody, me included, I felt fed up at times. I felt worried at times, and that kind of thing. And as Owen said, it changed. Things change so quickly, in either direction, and you can feel, fed up, and you can feel annoyed and worried, and all those other normal things. But the depression thing, or at least the way I had it, and I'm talking to others are the same. It's actually deeper than that. It's almost different. It just takes over. It's not rational. And it's actually, I think, probably as much as anything, it's a mental condition, and it means that it's not rational. And all the things like normal worrying, you worry about things, and then you sort of think, oh well, there's a few positive sides of that. Well, I found when the depression hit me, it really is like staring into a black hole. You just can't see anything positive in the future.
Who noticed you were spiralling?
Oh, well, Yvonne, I think probably. It's got like we were going through a difficult patch, and of course it was a difficult season. And we're very, very fortunate in Wairarapa. We had some very good support people, one or two in particular, and they came and supported me. And it shows you the wonderful thing that family do. I would hate to think if I was in that, or anybody was in that position, if they didn't have a strong family supporting them.
I can't come up with a better way of putting it, of just, this is deeply important to you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's my life, really. You don't really own land, you just sort of take care of it for the next generation.
We're not giggling at John, honestly, people listening. Yeah.
I know, yes. Mackenzie's decided she's going to water the dogs with it. Small children and water are absolutely fascinating.
Well, the dogs have got to grow too.
That's right, they do, yes, but their water bowls are well and truly full.
And those dogs have hidden way back in their kennels. They've seen Mackenzie coming with it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, Owen, Emma, another 100 years?
Yeah, well, hopefully, I'd like to. No, that's certainly the plan. Yeah, that's certainly the plan. So, which will be cool. So, I think from our point of view, which is what sort of Dad said as well. Like, if it's like for us, it's probably you don't really look at. I don't really feel like that we own. Like we don't really own it. We're just the ones that are at the steering wheel at the moment, sort of thing. It's probably how I look at it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember some non-farming friends once saying, I don't know what we're talking about, going overseas or something, and they said, well, you could sell the farm and go overseas. And I was like, no, like you just have no concept of what a farm is, and it's not ours to sell. Like you're robbing the future generation, I guess. So we'll do everything we can to make sure it stays in the family, providing someone wants to farm it, I guess, is the key. But hopefully, Annabelle's pretty keen. Yeah. Mackenzie will probably be keen. We've got nephews, and so definitely for us, it's to keep it in the family as long as we can, eh?
Emma Harvey, the 5th Mrs. Harvey of Daisybank, no less. Justin was also speaking to Emma's father-in-law, John Harvey, his son Owen, and Emma and Owen's daughter Mackenzie at the farm in Wairarapa. The Harvey family are recipients of a Century Farm Centennial Award, which recognises any farm or station which has been in the same family for 100 or more years. Applications for this year's awards for families who farmed their land since 1925 are currently open and close November 30th. You'll find more information about this and photos of the Harvey family on our website, rnz.co.nz/countrylife.